All right. Hello again. I'm doing another live stream, obviously, this evening. Technology was much more cooperative today. So, this video is really just a follow up on the video I did yesterday about pivoting the back foot in the Tai Chi. In this situation, it was responding to a question about the Tai Chi 24 form, but of course, this applies to any Tai Chi form. So, the reason I'm doing a follow up video is because I got a question in the comments of the previous video. Um, Asking about the safety of pivoting on the ball of the foot in regards to the knee. So, the person who posted the question said that they have a peroneal nerve palsy, which causes foot drop. So, the peroneal nerve or common fibular nerve innervates the top of the foot or the muscles that help dorsiflex the foot. So, if you have a palsy or an injury to that nerve, it causes foot drop. So, when you step, when your heel hits the ground, the foot slaps down instead of having a controlled descent to the floor. So, with that, this person who's leaving the question said that pivoting on the heel is not something that's possible for them because of that peroneal nerve palsy. And so they had talked to an instructor, apparently pretty reputable instructor, um, and they were told that pivoting on the ball of the foot is more likely to cause knee injury over time. And so they were curious if I had thoughts on that. And I do have thoughts on that. So, um, yeah, there's a couple things to consider first of all. So, when you're talking about any pivoting or rotational motion with the feet, one thing to consider is both how grippy or sticky the floor is and how grippy or sticky your shoes are. And when you're practicing Tai Chi, it's ideal to have kind of a good balance between those two things where the shoe is grippy enough that your feet aren't constantly sliding, but it's not so grippy that pivots and rotations of the feet are going to put extra torque on your joints. So that's one thing, how grippy your shoes are. And then that's also mirrored by how grippy the ground is. If it's too grippy, same problem. If it's not grippy enough, you're still sliding around. So it I mean that's one thing to consider when you're thinking about the effect of pivoting your feet on your knees is how much traction you have with your shoes or the ground and that relationship there. So, as far as causing injury to the knee by pivoting on the ball of the foot, um, it kind of depends more on how you're pivoting the foot than the fact that you're pivoting on the ball of the foot. So, I'm going to grab my trusty foot model here. If you're pivoting on the ball of the foot, it's probably too close. I don't know if I have a good way of showing the foot. Okay, we'll do it this way. So if you're pivoting on the ball of the foot and what you're doing is you're just twisting at that point, then that is going to put more torque on your ankle. It's going to put more torque on your knee. Now, if you do keep the knee and the ankle well aligned with each other with the foot, and everything's moving as one unit from the hip, that will reduce some of that potential damage to those joints. Um, However, if you instead of just pivoting, when you set the foot down, I guess it would be setting the foot down this way, and then you push the foot back. What you're wanting to do is not just pivot, but actually push the heel backwards. So it's not just, we'll say this is the ball of foot, it's not just step down and twist, it's step down and push the heel back. And if you pivot that way, it takes a lot of the torque out of the knee, out of the ankle, out of the joints. And it's more of a leg extension in a way. It feels more like you're extending the leg backward than just twisting the leg. Now, of course, this conversation was around the back leg in a forward stance. So if you think about brushing and push, if you think about parting the horse's mane, with those movements, the majority of your weight is going toward the front leg and is not on that back leg. So there's a little less pressure. Sorry, I just hit the mic there. There's a little less pressure on that back leg as you're extending it backwards and rotating. So if you are pivoting on the ball of the foot, it's not like full weight bearing twist. And so there's less torque on the knee that way as well. So if we're talking about the back leg and the forward stance, pivoting on the ball of the foot, I don't think it's very likely to injure the knee or put a lot of torque on the knee if you're doing it by pushing the heel back. Now, that said, there are other times when you're going to be rotating a foot in a taiji form. So there's stances where you will be like just standing on one leg and spinning, and that can be done on the heel or that can be done on the ball of the foot. I think probably the first way I learned was pivoting on the ball of the foot. And if you kind of keep that weight alignment over this spot here, so directly below the shin bones here. So you may be having your weight, your contact with the floor is at the ball of the foot, but your weight is still focused here. When you do that rotation, it's going to be a little less torquey for your leg. So that's one thing you can do, but that is going to put more torque on your leg than if you are doing a pivot on one leg and you lift the toes and pivot on the heel. So it's just one of those things where you have to pay attention to the type of shoe you're wearing, the type of ground you're practicing on, um, how you're extending the leg into that rotation, how you are moving, and your weight distribution. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I think that whether you're doing a pivot on the heel or on the ball of the foot, either one, you can potentially hurt your knee if you're doing a rotational motion with the leg, because it is potentially torquing the knee if you're not keeping things well aligned. So anytime that you get something that puts a potential twisting motion on the knee, you do increase your risk of injuring the knee. Like that's just, it's not a super, super stable joint. It's something that is prone to injury. And it's just something where you have to really take it a step at a time, case by case, and really make sure that what you're doing with your body, you're checking in with your body, you're checking in with your alignment, and making sure that those things line up in a way that is going to minimize your risk of knee injury. So those are my thoughts on that question. Let's see. Someone left a comment here. All right. So the question is, do I teach Taiji forms for competition? And how and where to start with that. So welcome to the channel. It's great to have you here. So I've done forms for competitions. I've done competitions before. That is not my focus. The forms that I teach, of course, you can use in competition, but most of the things that I have to talk about now is more about how you're going to use the form to transform your body and transform you from the inside and change the structure and alignment of your body for health and for martial arts applications, for basically transforming you into a more resilient version of yourself. So, of course, those movements can be used in competition, but that's not really my focus. So I'm not going to be giving a lot of tips like if you're in competition and you do it this way, it's going to look flashier. Um, I may occasionally throw something like that out there, but that's not really my focus. Where to start? Honestly, the best place to start if you're wanting to do forms, especially for competition, is to find a good like instructor that you can work with in person, because there's a lot of detail and a lot of nuance that goes on in competition forms and a lot of things that you can do to make it look better for competition that it's very difficult to train on your own without someone who can words not working, critique what you're doing. So I would say step one is find someone that you can work with one-on-one in person. And that would be the best place to start. The 24 form that I have up, that's a great competition form. It's short enough that it's probably going to keep you within your time limits for doing a competition routine. It's well known enough that if you go to a competition, do the 24 form, people are going to recognize it right away. So that's a good starting place if you're wanting to practice a form for competition. But again, definitely work with someone one-on-one. Let's see. Yeah, that's a big problem. There's no instructors where you live. That's one of the reasons why I put the videos up that I put up is for people who don't have instructors in their area. So yeah, I would say try the 24 form, and if there's competitions going on that you can get to, I mean, practice the form, go to the competition, see what marks you get, go talk to the judges afterwards and say, hey, what was something that I did that made you mark lower than this score or something like that. Talk to instructors there at the competition, ask for feedback, other competitors. Most people in competitions are pretty good natured and you'll be able to get some good information from them. So yeah, I wish you the best in your competitions. All right. And thank you for the question. So if there are no further questions, I think I've answered the question from the previous video pretty well. I did want to mention the person who left the question on the previous video said that they were encouraged to put a stutter step in their form to get that rotation to happen without pivoting on the ball of the foot. And I think this is really a cool thing about Tai Chi. If you are practicing Tai Chi, there are, like I said in the previous videos, there are a lot of ways to do something right, and there are some ways to do things wrong. And so forms can be very much personalized to fit your physical capabilities, any limitations that you have, and like how your body moves best. So it can really be turned into your form when you're practicing it and incorporating something like a stutter step, or instead of doing a pivot on the foot where you actually like if you're doing like standing on one leg, pivoting on that leg, instead of just pivoting on that leg, put the other foot down, adjust the bottom foot, and then pick that leg up. Things like that can be done. I did that with students all the time, especially if they didn't have great balance, and that's something we were working on, or they just felt like that pivot wasn't something that was safe for them. Then we would just adjust the form to fit that. So that's something wonderful about Tai Chi. If you can work with someone that can help you like personalize the form so it fits your body, I think that's a wonderful thing to do. Let's see. Yeah. Well, I hope you have a great time with the 24 form, and thanks for tuning in. I am going to call it quits if there's no further questions and go have dinner. I just wanted to throw this up here to answer that question and give everyone a chance to ask some more questions. So I think that's probably it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful for some of you. Again, if there are any of you out there who feel like this is a very useful way of getting your questions answered, you think this is a great thing to keep going forward, let me know in the comments and I will keep this going. Right now, with my schedule, I think this is one of the easier ways to interact with you guys, um, just because I don't have to edit this later, shoot it and edit it and do all that stuff. I just kind of get on here and talk and let you know my thoughts. So, anyway, I wish you all the best in your training. Take care and thanks for watching.